I said I'm not going on that show because I'm like, I admire the people that go on it so much because it's such a scary thing. For a year later, someone to reach out and say, would you want to go on?
The loudmouth.
How do you go about that, proving doubters wrong and stopping people from like underestimating you?
Meduulla's diss track was
If it's so easy,
different.
why didn't you do it? If it's so easy, why didn't you remember?
It's hard, I'm not going to lie. Especially like being a woman in rap. Rap in itself is very misogynistic. It's very homophobic, like male dominated.
What's one piece of advice you would give Meduulla at 20 years old?
One piece of advice I would give 20-year-old Meduulla.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Talk Twenties podcast. If you're not already subscribed or following, make sure you do so you never miss an episode of us in the studio.
Yes, that's right. And Gaby, everyone knows that we're a Liverpool-based podcast. We've had some amazing Liverpool-based talent, business owners, but everyone knows I'm also a Manchester lad. And I've been itching to bring some of that talent over from Manchester onto the pod too. So on that note, I'm pleased to say we have poet, rapper, DJ, Meduulla here in the studio with us. Hi, Meduulla.
Hello, hello, hello.
Welcome, welcome. So you might recognize her from on stage at Reading and Leeds Fest 2022 or on screen on the Rap Game UK with Crept, Conan, DJ Target.
Absolutely. Now, Meduulla, you come from Manchester today, but you're originally from Zimbabwe. Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about like your early childhood, your upbringing, your roots. What got you here to be the person that you kind of are today and sat over there?
Yeah, so my family migrated from Zimbabwe in like 2003. Mm-hmm. So I was like 3 years old at the time, and I'm the youngest in my family. So as much as I don't remember Zimbabwe, my household was very Zimbabwean. Like literally as soon as I stepped into my house, it was Zimbabwe. And then once I stepped out, it was Manchester. Like there was just two different worlds. So I grew up with these two different worlds, which I'm so grateful for because I think they've just formed who I am today and like, you know, my outlook on life. So yeah, in terms of like my upbringing, I was just always inspired to be very creative. Like my dad is a very academic person, but like I feel like due to life experiences, he didn't actually get to chase his dreams of like being an author, which was like upsetting to me and still is. And I feel like that really informed the way I took my life. I was like, no, I'm going to grab life by the neck and I'm going to do the things that I love. So yeah, we would like do so many fun like activities around words. Like he'd be like, oh, what's the word of the week? And we'd have to think of this like massive word. And I'd just go into English class and I'd know these sick words. So yeah, I feel like that's what got me inspired to like be around words and like language as well. Like we would speak Shona, which is from Zimbabwe, at home. And then yeah, later on I learned French myself. So yeah, I feel like just having these two worlds next to me and on the other side of that, like just learning this new life, like in the UK, in Manchester, what that means to be a Mancunian, which I'm like so proud of, and like just the togetherness that it gives me, gave me these two different worlds that like really inform the way that I like navigate life. So yeah.
Love that.
That's so interesting. And how would you say those kind of two very different experiences, you know, going from Zimbabwe to Manchester, two different places, but how does that now inform like your lyrical creativity as well?
Well, I feel like through my lyrics and through writing, I always try and figure things out. So when I'm writing, I feel like it informs because I ask myself questions about myself, who I am. A lot of my work is centered around identity. Although it's not, I wouldn't say my stuff is serious though, that's the thing. Like I like to put in little pockets of things for people to think about that are related to identity. So like one of my recent singles like Meduulla, at the end, like it's just a very vibey song, but at the end I'm just like, oh, the man took land from the fam, that's why the fam had to go to a different land. And it's just like a little one-liner just to tell people about who I am and where I've come from. And I like to put those little pockets in there because whilst I'm writing, I'm also thinking, oh, how did I get here? Where am I going? What is this? Like, you know, what's this life thing that we're doing? And yeah, I feel like that's how it informs what I do, really.
Super, super interesting. So obviously you started off with a bit of poetry first and then you've moved more into music, rap, and that's what's really kind of taken off for you.
Yeah.
Notably, you know, you appeared on season 3 of the Rap Game UK.
Yeah.
And you've also just recently performed at Reading and Leeds Fest in 2022.
Yeah.
How did those amazing opportunities even come about?
To this day, oh my God, I have no idea. And when I say it, so my initial thing is to say it just happened and I just fell into it. But when I think back, I feel like I've always been doing these things, like I was saying, like the little writing activities I do with my dad, or also just writing in my diary and all these things. I've always sort of written as a hobby, but never in my life did I think it could be a career. It's just something that was unimaginable to me. So in lockdown, what happened was like I was in my final year of uni and I was studying in London, but I had to move back to Manchester because of the pandemic. And I was literally having the biggest life crisis. I was like, what am I doing? Like, if we're in a pandemic, why does my degree matter? Like, why am I still studying?
Facts,
and literally, like, I had this, like, what do they call it? Like epiphany. Nihilism. Yeah, epiphany. And just nihilism, like nothing matters. But does that mean anything can matter if I make it? Do you know what I mean? So I just started like writing and putting stuff out more onto my Instagram, onto just social media, and people really liked it. And I was just being authentically me. It didn't have to be perfect or anything. It was just like, write it, put it out. And the Rap Game casting people got wind of that. And before I even, like, I said I'm not going on that show because I'm like, I admire the people that go on it so much because it's such a scary thing. And then for a year later, someone to reach out and say, would you want to go on it? I was like, this is like serendipity. Like, I have to, do you know what I mean? I must do it now because I said all I'm going to do, but like, you know what I mean? It's come to me. So they reached out and then I was like, yep, I was looking for a reason not to finish uni anyway. So this came at the perfect time. Kind of fobbed off uni, went on the show. Honestly, the most like life-changing experience of my life. If you're familiar with the show, like I came in halfway through. So literally up until I entered the door, I didn't know I was going to be on it. I was just isolating in a hotel elsewhere.
Okay.
And because someone dropped out, they were like, you're going in tomorrow. I was like, what? And I'm not even joking. I was in the hotel room with my wine. Like, I was just had like cucumbers on my eyes thinking, yeah, like I'm just going to be going home in 2 weeks anyway. So it doesn't matter. And then they're like, nah, you're going in like tomorrow. So anyway, you get there and it's like crazy. And the way I just want to like explain it is it was so high, like it was intense. Like just people, because it's not like a Love Island kind of show, we are competing against each other. It felt very like competitive and stuff. And I'm not really used to that. I'm like quite a chill person and stuff. But like, I just feel like, yeah, I'm so grateful for the opportunity. Like it showed me a lot about what the industry is like. And I'm really grateful to have had that experience so early on. And like just to meet my mentors, I was like, what the heck? Like, how is this person in front of me right now? And just have that first initial bit of belief, like someone that believes in me. So yeah, that happened. And off the back of that, it just gave me a big drive to just continue just doing things independently, not give up. I was like, this is just the beginning. Like, I can't stop now. So afterwards, I just made sure I carried on like working on my craft, like putting out more things. And then I always like submit my work on my local BBC Introducing. And they listened to my songs and they were like, wow, like you're amazing. And then they brought me in for an interview. And then after that, they submitted me to like be pitched to perform at their stage at Reading and Leeds. And I was like, what? And they messaged, they're like, you've been pitched, so you might end up on the stage. I was like, oh my God, fingers crossed. And then there you have it, I'm there. And I was like, what? Like, I feel like I learned a lot about what it takes, because on Friday I was in Leeds and then on Sunday I had to be in Reading and I had to like do all of that myself. So I was like my tour manager, my manager, I was an artist at the same time, and I had to just navigate all that. So it was like a massive learning experience and also a big fat party afterwards. Like I was just having so much fun. But
that's amazing. And I mean, it sounds absolutely amazing, the experience that you've been on, but you kind of alluded a little bit there that like it's quite a lot that goes on behind the scenes. So, you know, we always say that like there's like a social media highlight and there are all the best bits, but actually like life as a 20 something, when you're trying to make it in some kind of industry, is actually really hard. Like what's that like realities behind like what you've been experiencing in the past like couple of years?
You know what? There are so many realities, especially even if I go back to the rap game, going from like just me making content because I want to and like just writing and posting when I want to people like having a flood of new followers, people recognizing me. I'm like, oh, it's making me a bit anxious. Like literally for a very long time, I was just anxious to do anything. I felt like even if I just go to a party, I can't be myself, or like, I don't know what people are thinking. Like I was very on edge. I was like, I don't know what is going on. And I feel like there's kind of a disconnect in like preparing people for that, because I think after you go through such a big thing, I think you need to be eased back in, because life continues, like life carries on.
Yeah.
After you've been on that show, that thing is on television, and bear in mind, people are watching it kind of after it's happened. So you have to go back to normal life, but people are still stuck in this stage in your life. And you're like, yeah, I'm over that now. And I still have like real things to deal with. I still have bills to pay. I still have like, you know, life to maintain. So I think that's one thing. Being an artist is just one heart. It is just one heart, and that's fine. And it's healthier that way, I think. You can't have your artist hat on all the time. Yeah. And I think that's what people expect of you, but you just don't conform to what people expect.
Yeah, yeah, so true. I think a good way to look at it is like you're in the spotlight, but then you never really step out of that spotlight. The spotlight just dimmens, and then it's up to you to like keep that up in the way that you want it to go.
Exactly.
Because I imagine, like you said, like they basically told you what you're going to be doing, and you know you was kind of cut off from the whole world for a little bit. But after the show's done, after you know the set packs up and everyone has to move on to what they're doing, it then falls back to you as the artist to keep that momentum going, you know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, not everyone gets a chance to do that.
No, 100%. And I think that's the hardest bit, because you have been given, like when we were living like stars, like we were getting like Addison Lee everywhere. We're living in like a really nice penthouse, and then it just all stops. So it's like, it is really hard, because I'm so grateful that I've got like an amazing support system. Like my family are amazing. Like they've got me through such hard times. And if you don't have that, it can be really, really difficult. So I just feel like knowing who you are before you step into something like that is one of the most important things, because people, like, you'll get shaped by what's around you if you don't know who you are.
So true. And like in your early 20s, you're more likely to be like, you're probably, I'd say, like a bit more malleable. Like you're still figuring out who you are. 100%. So a lot of the world around you is shaping who you're becoming. So I think like being a little bit like wise to that is so true, so needed.
Yeah, and taking breaks is fine. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you don't do things straight off the back of like an amazing opportunity, that's all right as well.
So true. I feel like it's a crazy world out there. So before you even try to make sense of this world, you've got to make sense of yourself. And, you know, here at Talk Twenties, we're so big on people really, you know, knowing what their identity is. Identity is, you know what I'm saying? And I know that's something you're strong about as well. So you're now up and coming in the UK music scene, you know, you're perfecting your craft, you're putting out amazing content. But what is it like breaking into these new spaces as a minority, you know, as a Black woman and also part of the LGBTQ plus community as well?
I would say it's hard, I'm not going to lie, especially like being a woman in rap. I'm not going to lie. I see it in the women that I love in rap. The things that they're kind of criticized about are very trivial compared to their male counterparts. And rap in itself is very misogynistic, it's very homophobic. It's just, like male dominated. But the thing is, women love rap too, like queer people love rap too. So I also feel privileged that I can represent that intersection. Like I am literally the product of someone who loves this culture, but sometimes doesn't feel very loved by the culture, but wants to contribute and kind of give that perspective. And again, like, I feel like it does give me like a different edge as well, because I speak about topics in a way maybe that people haven't in a way. So I always try and look at it as something that I can use to my advantage, because there is no one like me, like, and that is my power. Whereas like, yeah, I remember I was listening to an Ed Sheeran interview, and he was saying he like just went to an open mic event, and I think it was mostly like, I think it was poets, like just people that are quite different to what he does. And then he just got on, and I think he was like, oh, I was like the only white guy in the room. I just got on stage, got my guitar out and started playing. And he was like the odd one out. And that was his strength, because people were like, we were not expecting that. Like, that was so good. Yeah. And that's how I like to think of it. And there's many more examples as well of people that I love and admire as artists who use their like differences as an advantage. And that's what I try and do. Like, I always put a little bit of like witty lyrics in my you know, songs, just to like throw people off a bit, that I can do because I'm a woman. Like, sometimes that like I say like, oh, I'm the man in command. People be like, what does she mean by that? Like, why does she call herself a man? It's like, because I can. And it will just make people more intrigued. So yeah, I'm just happy I can be that representation for people that like rap and that are in kind of marginalized groups. So.
A quick moment to tell you about our sponsors, Zopa Bank, who are one of the UK's leading digital banks.
But what makes them a leading digital bank, Gaby?
They're all about fair, simple and easy to use financial products.
Yeah, that sounds like something I need to better manage my finances. How can I get on the Zopa app?
You just need to head to your app store and search Zopa to check it out for yourself.
It is difficult because it feels like saturated by predominantly male artists. But I think you should take it upon yourself to listen to like female rappers, different type. Like, there's so many different types, and people try and like, again, put people in a box, or, you know, kind of discredit someone's talent and stuff. So yeah.
I love an underdog, and I think like watching you on rap battle was like amazing, because I was like rooting for you the whole way through, and like the rap battle scenes are amazing and stuff like that. But I think there's a lot of 20-somethings out there that would be totally inspired by what you're building. But I think you adopt a mindset that is just like fearless. Like, there's something about you where you're just like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to give it a go. Like the whole dropping out of uni thing, the whole, I don't want to do rap battle, but I'll just give it a go because they asked me. Like, how, like, can we like tap into your brain as like listeners? Like, how do you go about that, proving doubters wrong and stopping people from like underestimating you, because you have like an aura about you where you're like, nah, I'm going to do it. Like,
do you know what? There's a few things. First of all, my friend in uni, shout out to Rhoda if she's watching. She said to me, like, if you do something and you're like kind of wary about doing it, ask who's gonna beat you up. Like, no one no one's gonna beat you up. So just do it. Like, what is gonna happen? What's the worst thing that can happen? It's usually nothing. It's just your own like fears.
Yeah,
that's the first thing. And I just feel like also, I don't know, in terms of like just being fearless, it's just mainly like the doubts and stuff. I think I'm a very competitive person. So people doubting me really drives me. I'm like, you are going to see, like, and I think you have to have a lot of self-belief in yourself, which is hard. Like, you have to keep reminding yourself how important you are just for being who you are. Like, before you even do anything, you're important because there is no one else like you at all. So
true.
Yeah, even like, let's say I have like, if I had a breakup or something, like that would inspire me to go so hard at life, because I'm like, you don't know like what you're missing. Do you know what I mean?
Get knocked down, but you get back up again.
Use it as fuel, because it's like, oh, this person or this industry just didn't even get it. Yeah, but you will get it when you get it. You'll get it. So
how do you remind yourself, like, in those difficult times? I mean, I love the first piece of advice you said, like, who's gonna beat you up? That's too funny.
No one.
That's too funny. But
honestly, because I think she got tired of me just like, I'd be like, oh, I don't know, like and an and she'd be like, who's gonna beat you up? Like, all right, okay, no, say no more. But how do I remind myself? I think looking back at things I've overcome in the past, that reminds me. I will also say having like a very strong unit of people who can remind me as well, because I think as much as we like to say like, oh, we don't care about people's opinions and stuff, people validating you is helpful, you know. And I feel like I have a network of people that do that. They validate me as much as they give me constructive criticism. So that's really important. Like just having a trustworthy network and talking to yourself. I'm a big believer in talking to yourself. Like I give myself pep talks on a daily and I'm just like, Meduulla, if you do not do this, A, B, and C will happen. And also, Meduulla, you have done this before. You will get through whatever this is. This is just a door closing so that one door can open. Like, just encouragement, because there's nothing like, I just feel like there's just so much power in words. So saying it out loud, speaking it into existence, speaking to yourself, it's powerful. Yeah.
So true. Do you write a journal? Just out of interest, that was a really random question, but do you journal? Do you
I have a
write
diary.
lot down? Do you have a diary?
Yeah, I do have a diary, which, oh my God, no one has ever read. No one has ever read, because I speak so openly to that page. Yeah. There will be things about every single person, like, just so that I can get it out and move on. And I just think it's so important. Like, it's genuinely therapeutic. And, like, it just helps in, like, such a judgy world. Or, like, I think I used to also use Twitter as like a diary and stuff like that, which is just not good, like, at all. Like, you can just never regret writing things down, I think. Yeah. And it really just helps me understand my emotions. And I don't write in it often. It's usually when I'm like really happy or really sad that I write in it.
Yeah, I'm the same actually when I do mine. But like, it's so nice to look back at like where you were in those moments. Like, sometimes I just like reading back to like the post that I've done like a year before in this kind of time, because I know roughly what I was feeling, but like to really tap into like my brain from like, this is where I was at a year ago. There's nothing like reading it on a page, something that you've written. Like, I find it fascinating.
No, honestly. And you just think, oh wow, like I was so naive, or oh wow, like I was actually looking after myself then. Like, I'm really proud. So it gives you like perspective.
Sure, definitely.
Good way to kind of measure your growth as well. Like,
exactly.
I've never really done journaling or diarying.
It's never too late. It's never too late.
No, this year I've got like my well, it's more like a notepad, but no, it's my journal. I'm just trying to capture the thoughts sometimes, because there's a lot that goes up in this head. So sometimes I just need to get it on paper.
Sure.
But yeah, I just want to pick up on something you said there. Like, you said you've overcome a lot, and I felt it when you said that. You know, you give off this amazing radiant energy, this like great aura about you, but I know you've been through stuff, and that's what's made you who you are today. Could you maybe give us a bit of an insight into that? Some of those things you've overcome, maybe like a biggest adulting failure or something like that.
Yeah, well, I think as much as like it comes across as confidence and stuff, like being who you are, it definitely takes a confidence, but it takes a lot of sacrifice as well. Like, I feel, and it takes a lot of fight. I feel like I've genuinely had to fight to be who I am. So, I mean, even in the case of like, I don't know, being a queer woman, like, I feel like that's not something that was accepted or like stuff in my family, but I'm like, it's just who I am. Like, I'm just gonna have to be that person. So it's a fight. And also like deciding uni isn't for me, a fight. Like, it takes things that, like, you have to decide that there are definitely going to be, you have to decide whether you're ready for the consequences. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes it's not easy, but I think it's always worth it. Like, not betraying yourself. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like with adult failures, I would say I do feel, sometimes I feel like the fact that I didn't finish uni feels like a failure, you know? And I don't know if that's because of like society and stuff like that, or my parents as well. Like, and honestly, this is like, it's a big subject, because I think it's something that I'm only just getting over this year. Like, my parents, they literally migrated to this country for me to get a good education, for me to have like the maximum opportunity. They gave up their dreams. Like, they gave everything for me to do uni mainly, right? And while I'm doing uni, I can see that life is changing around me. This degree is not the most important thing anymore. It's better for me to hone in on my skills than to get a degree potentially for me in my individual case. And I can see that, and it's conflicting with the fact that my parents want me to continue and they want to be proud of me. They want to see that their efforts have been worth it. and it's actually a massive complex, especially because I've got older siblings, and you know, one of them has also like finished uni and done a master's, got like a really successful job, and it's literally amazing to see. But like, I just couldn't have that for myself, and it was really hard. But yeah, that's something I'm coming to realize, that it's not a failure, and I'm the only person that can live my life. And yeah, it's tough though, because like, I don't care about anyone else's opinion apart from my parents. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So I always want to make sure I'm doing things with them in mind. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you highlight such a big thing there.
I think so many people can relate to what you've just said. And do you know what? Not many people have actually said it on the podcast, but like, sometimes our parents' views of what success is, when we're living in the generation that we're living in, they are two different things. Now, I'm not saying that like university is not a measure of success anymore, because it is for some people and for some jobs and stuff like that. But like, there's also other ways that you can be happy in your career, and it doesn't mean that university is not the only way anymore. And I think in the past it was, well, if you've been to university, you're going to make it. You're going to be fine. You're going to get a great job. And that was kind of like, they went kind of hand in hand, but like, that's not the only way anymore. And there are other ways.
Yeah. And let's be honest, like, I studied French and film, like, there was no job security there anyway. Like, I did a creative course anyway. Like, there was no job that I was going to go into anyway. So I literally, and I was watching like Gary Vee talking, because he's also, I think his parents also were immigrants. And he was talking about how like parents, and like, you know, he shouts and like he's very enthusiastic, swears and stuff. And like, my parents are Christian people, they don't swear, like whatever. But anyway, we're watching Gary Vee, and like, he's dragging like parents. He's like, if you just want your kids to do this so that they can be like, you know, you can brag about them, you're doing the wrong thing, because why do you want to brag about them if they're not even happy? Like, all of these things. And my parents were just sat there like, oh, he's actually like got a point. And then,
did they hear that?
Yeah, they heard it.
Wow, that's good.
Well, you was watching it together?
We were watching it together.
Wow.
But then he also, I can't remember what he said, he drags the kids as well. Oh yeah, he's like, but also if you're pursuing your dreams and you're still living under your parents' roof, you better be listening to them, because you're still like, of course they should tell you what to do because you're still like under their roof. And I thought it's so true, like, it's showing both sides of the coin. And like, it did take a lot for them to take it in because of like the swearing and stuff. But then when they actually listened to the message, they were like, oh yeah, actually it's true, we should support you.
Is there any other ways that you've tried to like change your parents' perspective to get them to understand where you're coming from? Like, is there any other ways that you've, any conversations that you've had? Because I think a lot of people could have been in like your situation where they're like,
for sure.
I've noticed, like, again, like I already said, like, my parents are amazing, and I know it's really difficult to have specific conversations with parents. And for me, I think they try their hardest to be progressive and in the know. So even if it's uncomfortable, even if they're like no at the time, sometimes it is about like pushing against that no, and then them kind of understanding later on, like, okay, like, and then it is like, for me, like I said, my dad is like a massive, like, he's a thinker, like, he just thinks about massive things in life. He knows like there's nothing new under the sun. So anything that I say it's not like I just pulled out of thin air just to like whatever. He knows that life continues, it's a cycle, whatever. So he just tries to understand the new things that are emerging. So I don't know, when I have conversations with them, I just try and not think about it too much and just say everything. And like, I'm known as the I'm not even, I think I'm not that passionate, but I'm known as the passionate one in the house. And yeah, I think it's just because I just say what I feel. Yeah.
That's good. It's even good that your parents like are happy to listen as well. For some people, it's like a dead end conversation, and that makes it so much more difficult. I mean, I can relate to so much you're saying. I think it's especially like from typically African households when they have given up a lot. That's when almost your parents want to live vicariously through you. But the thing that you mentioned there about the Gary Vee talk was about happiness. And I think a lot of the time, you know, as children, we just want to make our parents proud. We just want to make them happy. But then are they always thinking about, are we even happy?
Yeah.
It's really
gosh, honestly.
I'm feeling the topic today.
Literally.
Yeah.
I'm feeling the topic. And I can only
Interesting.
echo what you say in terms of like, I feel like I've really been blessed with my parents in terms of how supportive they are. But, I had a really open conversation with my dad Christmas just gone, and it was me, my two sisters, and my sister just gone off to uni to study medicine. And one of my dad's biggest goals growing up was he wanted to be a doctor, but because he didn't have the resources, he didn't end up being a doctor. He had to go in a different direction. But my dad's got my little sister with her stethoscope on like her first day at placement as his phone screensaver. You think that's cute?
That's cute.
Does that not mean favourite child though? Like, I'm side-eyeing like, oh, is that how it is?
Mum, this is a shout out to you, because my mum also has my sister Maddie as her home screen. Why does she not have all of us 4
Literally.
kids? Why pick one?
Literally.
Parents have favourites, guys. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It is. Like, I'm literally called Felix Jr. after him, and I've never been on
Literally.
the phone screen.
Mum and dads, can we change that, please? We want to be on your home screen.
No,
But for me, that just shows like he's just so proud of her, and he's almost like living vicariously through her.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's really a big conversation, and I wish more parents and children like just talked.
Yeah. And I
really
think
smart.
maybe just as like, if there is like, I don't know, a kid or a 20-something-year-old listening, like, and they're thinking, my parents will never understand, that's also okay. Do you know what I mean? Making peace with that fact is also fine. There's been loads of times where like, I don't know, my parents have been like, oh, so like, when are you going back to uni and stuff? I'm like, Mum, I'm literally like making X, Y, Z amount of money from music. Like, this is literally what I'm doing. I'm doing so well. But it's just that, and it's not that they don't want to understand, but sometimes they just can't. And that's okay. So yeah, it's a
different mindset. It's a different generation.
It's a different life, different generation. Exactly.
For sure.
Yeah.
But we like to talk on the podcast about how, you've talked quite openly already about some of the challenges and the things that you do in your industry as well, and how, there's some real big highs and some other lows. But like, I think one of the threads of the conversation that we kind of have is that like every single person that we speak to, no matter how much success they've had, they're currently working on something that they feel like they can be better at. Like they're currently going through something, or they're trying to improve at one of the different areas. For you, like, especially now we just stepped into like the new year and stuff like that, what is it that you're trying to improve in your life or make better?
Trusting myself, I think. Trusting my own judgment. So with a lot of things, I just don't think they're neither good nor bad. You just need balance of a lot of things, right? And for me, a lot of the reason that I feel like I've been able to be in like completely different spaces and navigate them very well is because I ask people what they think about things, and then I take it in and pull the best things I can from what they say and apply it to my own life, which is great because it gives me a lot of perspective on things. However, it also means that now, do I need to ask this person, or do I need to ask for what this person thinks about this? But no, like, my judgment is my judgment, and it is right. Like, it's actually right. So that's something I'm working on, especially with creative choices musically going forward. Like, I'm working on an EP and should be out this year. And even with that, I'm like, is this the right move? Should I have done that? Just do it. Like,
second guessing yourself a lot.
Just about to say, don't
Yeah.
second guess yourself. Literally
second
took the word out of my
guessing,
mouth.
yeah.
Oh, so guilty of that
it's a hard
too.
one, yeah.
I literally sometimes still get like my other half to read emails like that said, and I'm like, God, you're 27, Gaby, you can write your own email.
Thousands of emails
And I
as
write
well.
a lot of emails, and I'm like, oh my God, like just trust that what you're saying is right. Like, I can relate a lot.
For sure. So that's what I'm working on. But yeah.
So good.
That's good. That's good. I guess that links into like believing in yourself as well, and confidence, and so many different things.
For sure.
That's really good advice. I mean, it's been amazing having you on the podcast today, Meduulla. Speaking to you, we've been looking forward to this one.
Thank you.
You're conscientious, not just in your lyrics, but also in like your mindset and the way you live your life as well.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolute pleasure. But yeah, we like to end the podcast in a similar way, which is looking back to your 20-year-old self and looking at where you are now and looking at where you were then. What's one piece of advice you would give Meduulla at 20 years old?
One piece of advice I would give 20-year-old Meduulla. Probably.
If you got more than one thing, it's cool as well. There's a lot.
I would say just don't get so caught up on little things, because in the grand scheme of things, they don't matter. Like, don't stress about. Like, I think I have a difficulty, like, letting go of friendships and relationships and stuff. And in your 20s, I feel like friends come and go, people come and go. Do you know what I mean? That's okay. So I think I would just tell her, like you're not the problem. Like, literally, everyone is just going through this weird time, and no one has it figured out at all. 20-year-old, you definitely doesn't have it figured out, and you've got way more figuring out to do. So, and that's okay.
Very wise words.
Yeah, we always say that. And we didn't tell us to say that, by the way, guys. That's literally come from
we
her
do say
own
that
mouth.
a lot. Yeah. Really.
But it just goes to show, like, that's another 20-something-year-old, like, literally going through
exactly
the same things that we go
through. No, none of us have it figured out.
No, honestly.
No.
I have, like, friends getting married, having kids. Like, everyone is on different paths.
Yeah. So true. So true. Thank you, Meduulla. It's been so amazing to have you in the studio. We've loved chatting to you. Thanks for coming on.